We're starting.
But you need the glow in the dark. It's coming.
Okay, yes, that's right. Star Trek Discovery Season 3's finale, Episode 13, That Hope Is You, Part 2 is over. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader and Jane Mader coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews. And we got a great panel to break this down. Bringing in next are the co-founder of Live Long and Podcast, Jaemeel Robinson. How you doing, Jaemeel?
I'm all right.
You just coming off here. The episode here. I'm just changing my colors because this is, and also bringing in next a co-host Michael Chan.
Hey,
the award nominated for the only Asian.
Actually, award-winning.
Award-winning.
Awards.
I was right.
Yeah,
Oh.
4 awards already.
Well, there you go. Exciting night for this finale.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Adam Woodward. How are you doing, Adam? Co-host Adam Woodward.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michael.
Thank you very much.
We got the disco power going on here. I see some things going on. None of us were ready. This was an hour and a half episode tonight, or with commercials.
It was long
because I'm watching this episode and it was almost 10 o'clock, and I'm like, what's going on? Like we
got 5 minutes to wrap up. Yeah, I got that too.
It can't be ready. And my friend's just like, oh, when are you starting the podcast? And I said, oh, okay, well, we're gonna start at 10:20 like we normally do. I was like, was it longer? He goes, I don't think so. He must have downloaded it from like the Americans or whatever, and got the no commercials. So it was a different experience because Jane and I couldn't figure it out. It started tonight. It had this really long recap where I'm like, is the episode going to start? And then it was like commercial. And it was like, I've never seen a commercial after a recap like of what's been going on up until now.
I borrow my in-laws' Vibe on my iPad to watch, and it actually has a length shown. So it actually did show that it was longer than a normal episode. So I knew going in it was longer. Ooh.
I'm glad it was. I think it really paid off in the last.
It needed to be.
It needed to be. I was like, where is this going? How are they going to wrap this up? I was like, you need this half an hour. And I'm sure if you're just watching without commercials, you wouldn't even feel it because it's really only an extra 22 minutes or so. FYI, not live. Oh,
live on
not
YouTube.
Live on YouTube.
No.
Oh no. What do we do? I don't know what to do. Start again?
I don't know. Do we normally see like a little clock symbol next to YouTube and Live Long and Podcast Facebook? Because I'm not sure.
No, we are live on YouTube. We are live.
Okay, cool.
Okay, no. Or it says we're live on YouTube, Jason. I do believe
Let me open up.
If anyone could check that out, well, I guess the show must go on. That we must continue to talk about Discovery. And this night tonight, I don't know, where do we start? There's a lot that happened this season. There's a lot that happened tonight.
Thanks, Jeff.
We have a comment from Jeff. He's saying we are live on YouTube. And Jeff, I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. I'm sure you probably binge watched the whole season today and got caught up right before this. Wow. Okay. First of all, do we start at the end? Do we start with where things left, or is it more about this episode tonight? I need opinions.
Can I start with the end credits?
Yes, the end credits. That was
so I was screaming because they decided to use the original Trek theme song as their end credits, and for me, that was huge. It was a surprise and a really pleasant one because this entire season, and we've talked about this. For me, it's the first time I felt this excited about Star Trek since I was a kid, and that ending theme song really capped it off for me.
Okay, yeah, we were saying that. They played it was the original Kirk theme song in the credits. I'm not sure what the meaning of that is.
I kind of take it like they finally deserve to call themselves Star Trek.
Yep,
I feel like Star Trek now
because they've paid homage to multiple tracks throughout the entire season. They've connected Discovery to all the different things within the universe this season, especially. So yeah, I agree with Jane. They earned their name finally.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the title, okay? And because it's important that Hope Is You Part 2, that was the season premiere that we watched 13 weeks ago, and all the way back in 2020, before the events of yesterday and all kinds of the
Remember then?
remember back then. And that Hope Is You, and we had we even got that character back from the end of the episode, but it ends with Michael Burnham is now the captain of the USS Discovery, and even more, they're in the new uniforms, everybody. So
I figured you would be
an interim.
Is it what? She interim captain?
Interim?
Well, she did mention that she had to give a response, except that if Saru does come back, he's technically captain. So there's two captains.
I thought he was giving it to her, like give. Like,
yeah, if I come
then
back,
would he pilot something else?
I'm gonna get another job or whatever.
Would he captain? Sorry, something else, a different ship.
Yeah, he might come back and they might put him on another assignment. He might say
the USS Kraken, the USS, I don't know,
the Kaminar, whatever that alien thing was that they were playing around on the holodeck with. Yeah, okay. And I think equally with Michael Burnham being the new captain, and we got the crew in the new uniforms, and they're kind of in this new century, really, really after this whole season has progressed. But we also have this whole thing with, is Saru gone? Has Doug Jones left this show? Was this sort of his finale?
Well, Jeff is asking what happened to Saru. He's gone to his home planet.
Yeah, he's gone back to his home planet.
A friend.
To kind of take care of Sukal and to help him recover, and it's important. So and I think Saru needs this right now too. I think they need each other. I think it's a good story. I think they told a good story here with the Saru character and Doug Jones. They played it very well. I think it was great that he got to spend so much time out of the makeup, so because we got more of that real acting. But was this his sort of like, I might come back as a recurring character sort of thing, but I'm sort of off the show. Like, this is now Sonequa Martin Green has to shine here, and we're going to be competing if we're both trying to share the ship. Mike, let's go to Adam. Adam, I want to put you on the spot. So it's what are you thinking?
This episode was the perfect ending, okay, to this 13 weeks or whatever we've been in now. I went in, I was excited right from the start. The recap was great, and yes, we got a commercial, and I thought something was off there too. But man, last week we speculated about who was going to be captain, who was going to die, and really none of our speculations came true. But what a great episode! Oh my god. I'm completely satisfied. I can't wait to get my rating because I'm just it's off the charts.
Well, and it's extra long. It's like it's
yeah, and like you guys, I was like 5 to 9. I'm going. They have 5 minutes to wrap up a lot of stuff here, and we kept going. And I got in my car at 9:20 or 9:17. I go, all right, I'll be there in time. But so yeah, it was good. Great episode.
No, I have to agree. Like, I was kind of like in the first 20 minutes tonight, I wasn't feeling it. So I was like, because I thought the episode was an hour. And I'm like, we're spending this much time, like we're fighting in the hallways. I really wish I had known that, or I looked to see how long this episode was. I just assumed it was an hour because I hadn't really felt like it wasn't going to be. And I was like, well, if this is like the first 25 minutes, then like it can't possibly work, and I'm starting to panic, and it ends up being beautiful in result. Jaemeel, how are you feeling about this episode and this whole season, maybe?
You know what? I am very surprised at the direction of this episode, because if I was just eyeballing it, I would have thought that Frakes directed it, because it seemed like a very skilled hand was handling this episode. The way that they've handled multiple plot points, both on Discovery, at Federation HQ, and also on the Dilithium planet, and it never seemed, and you pointed it out, it never seemed rushed. It seemed that every moment was able to breathe properly, like the scene played out as much as it needed to, like the action was like punchy as well. The effects budget, like where did that come from? Like, this does not seem like the same show that was 2 seasons ago. what was happening, this seemed like a dramatic uptick in terms of money being spent, even in terms of the warp scenes were very impressive. I
The
do have
turbolift fight. That turbolift
That
fight
that was
crazy.
amazing.
that was
Yeah,
that was
we
a
have to
film
talk about that
quality
at one
scene.
point.
And
Yeah.
props to my buddy DL McDonald. Great stunt work, buddy. You mentioned it on Facebook and you did not disappoint.
Ah.
Yes, there was an excellent job.
They could already have a captain summit with all the captains they've had on Discovery: Lorca, Saru, Burnham, Georgiou, and Pike. This, yeah, you're not wrong, Jeff. There's been many captains in 3 seasons.
Technically, only 4 of them were captain of the Discovery.
Okay, well, no, but Mirror Georgiou was captain.
No, I mean Pike. Pike wasn't
Pike was-
like Pike captained the Discovery, but he wasn't the captain of the
he was,
Discovery.
but he was.
I'm just saying.
I think I would say he was the captain. He was interim captain. It's kind of like he wasn't like,
He still had the Enterprise,
but he
like,
was in
wasn't-
repair, so he was sort of like on temporary assignment. And he even put it was because he put that Discovery uniform on. I think that's what made him captain.
You and the uniforms.
The uniform is symbolic. If he had left his gold on, I would have said, yeah, he's just kind of here on loan and he happens to be in command of this mission. But yeah,
You dove in with both feet.
No, Jason Doan, he's saying the turbolift fight made no sense. It looked like it could fly a shuttlecraft, how much space there was. Okay, and we are jumping around here, but I think on the shuttlecraft thing, or on the turbolift thing, this is consistent with what we saw in that short with number 1 and Spock. You remember the one where they're singing I'm not a mineral general thing?
Oh, that was-
And they showed like what the Enterprise turbolift system looked like, and it was this crazy vast valley that things fly through and go around, and like
I kind of got Death Star feelings for a bit there, but I was a little confused. I don't know.
I think they
That's
combined what we saw on the Enterprise with the new morphing technology, because as you saw, those little gates were morphing in to direct the turbo lift. So it's like 2 techs combined, like what we saw before in all the new stuff.
Right, you got to remember the ship was completely rebuilt too when it came to the Century. So it's not necessary, but because they have that in that other short with the number 1 and Spock, I feeling like this was already kind of part of Discovery. We just haven't really seen this part of the ship or whatever, or this system in this way.
But conceptually, how else is the turbolift system going to work? It's not like it's just going to like, well, I have to stop at this floor and I have to head over to section 5B to take the other turbolift to engineering. No, like it has to move in 3-dimensional space.
Right.
That's the only way
very
it works.
cavernous, like very empty inside, like, or it's just the ship is just that big.
This particular section they were on, at least, or they were in like sort of the main. They were in. We don't see this because normally they're supposed to be inside these sort of pods, and in the old way they've been designed as like they move through tubes, and they sort of like have these pre-designed caverns, like sort of on tracks. But here they're saying it's more high tech than that. It's okay. Like just
looked great. I was just surprised.
It was
What's
surprised.
going on?
But I don't get hung up on that. Like this. Jason, when he messaged me earlier, he said this looked like a movie. Like it felt like a 2-hour movie. It really did. And I feel like the special effects have been impressive. They have really gone the extra mile a lot of times here. I think we need to talk about the Emerald Chain and the villain and everything that happened. But I thought the whole thing was exciting. So okay. We had that really long recap. Then we got, after this commercial, we're back in the holodeck. We have Su'Kal, Saru, and Culber. It really starts with Culber. They're dying from the radiation, and it's starting to go bad. And they have to sort of get on with Su'Kal. Like they have to get out of here. And then Adira shows up, and Adira, as we know, she had beamed off a Book's ship. And she's been made to look. I can't remember the name of this species but we have seen it before. It is this. It was.
I couldn't remember.
You remember? It was the one here. I got it right here. Yeah. Here's Adira in the form she appears on the holodeck. It was that species that Tilly made friends with in like the short she had. Yeah, the one that was like in that she ended up being like the
Oh, with
queen.
the eyes that just go.
Yeah. So that implies this species later joined the Federation as well, because all of these like hollow disguises are meant to make them appear like Federation members. But even bigger than that, what Gray,
Gray,
like Gray Tall is walking around, and he's not just like a part of Adira's imagination or psyche or trauma. Gray is real. Gray is very real. That the hologram came out.
Yep.
It's still a holodeck. So, right?
What happened here? Explain the science of this to me.
I just felt like it manifested whatever. So I think they're implying that what's happening with Adira is more than just a vision, more than just in her head. There is something going. I mean, she is human, right? Trills are not supposed to be able to be in her. So something happened with I would assume quickness of Gray dying and her taking on. And so somehow it allowed her to stay alive, and it allowed his consciousness maybe to still exist, so that when the holodeck read her brain waves or whatever, separated, like read her as two people and not just as one.
She's projecting two consciousness.
But Gray is not the only previous host of the Tall symbiote. Like there were several before, but but
it's because I think there's something with the way it happened that she got the Trill in her that allowed her to live and him to still be there.
I don't think previously there's been a Trill host that was so interconnected with the previous.
He's asking where your enterprise is at. You gotta get on that.
I know it's bad.
Everyone's got an enterprise. Sorry, go ahead.
There hasn't been a Trill that has its host is continuing on to one that was so interconnected with the previous host, and I think that could be causing the displacement. Right? There isn't like an absorption of the persona into the new host, and it could be the reason why.
I have a prediction about what we're going to see next season, which is I think the solution for seeing Gray would be kind of like the Doctor in Voyager. It would be some kind of hollow version of him, and because they have the tech, right? If that holodeck is able to read her and project him, then they should theoretically be able to come up with something to read her and project him.
Yeah, and I agreed. And I think that the scene tonight where like Gray realizes they have to turn the holodeck off and he's going to disappear and he's going to have to go back to being only seen by Adira. I was like, I struggled with it a bit because I understand like, oh, that's going to be so hard for me to do that. But at the same time, I'd be like, this is amazing. I'm dead. I'm a dead past host. You shouldn't even be able to see me, Adira. Now that we have this hope of sort of giving me this next life as a hologram, this is amazing. We'll figure it out later. Like, don't be sad, be happy.
You are way too positive for this situation. Keep in mind, this has been months.
I think there's a silver lining here. I think there's a lot of things to be happy about.
Yeah. And honestly, guys, aside from the science of it, it was a great conclusion or, evolution to that storyline.
Yep, agreed.
Where is this going? Where are we going with Gray? And what does it mean?
But you can't just have him as somebody to talk to on the side here, an imaginary friend. This is great. Like I love the way this storyline went. We've enjoyed, or I have enjoyed the character of Gray, but certainly Adira and the relationship with you and Stamets. So this is great. Like again, you think about that for the amount of little time they spend on these characters, they become quite likable, and I've grown fond of them through the season a lot.
Quick question here from Jason. He's saying we saw Gray on the bridge at the end of the episode. Was that a hollow Gray? I don't believe it was Gray. I think you maybe are thinking of some. You might be mistaken.
Gray was there. He's right.
It was Gray.
He was in the room, but Michael Burnham did not acknowledge that
No.
Gray. So I
Okay, then it was an Adira.
It was Adira.
Adira only
Adira
can
Gray.
see Gray,
Yeah.
because Gray was not wearing a uniform, right?
Yeah.
Gray
Wait. Oh,
was
the new
wearing
uniform.
a uniform.
Well, it wouldn't make sense if
No,
Gray
that
was in uniform,
wouldn't.
but Adira was in uniform, but
Yeah, she was.
Adira definitely was.
I mean,
yeah,
they were.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to get back to that. We'll get to that sort of. Well, I think we have to get through the episode and then get back to the ending and sort of talk about the next season, because it was exciting. It was maybe my favorite part of the episode was sort of how, like, and this is where we're going now, right? And so I was like, oh, okay, that's exciting. I hope it's not like I felt like that at the end of Star Trek 4, where they're like, and now we got a new ship, let's go, and then Star Trek 5. Yeah, that was
But it led to Star Trek 6.
So maybe that will be a moment to come. But so we talked about Gray. Gray's back in the fold, in Vulcan form with a nice blue bowl cut going on there. It was like the traditional Vulcan haircut with the dye. I thought was fun, new kind of look in there. Because
That was fun.
yeah, I was like, well, what? Yeah, as soon as I saw Gray, I'm like, well, why is the holodeck giving you ears and whatever? That was fun. Then we get over to the battle where we have Osira. She's got the Discovery. She's taken on the entire Starfleet from inside their base. Somehow, I guess. I know the Discovery was upgraded, but and they don't want to destroy it. But it seemed like the entire fleet against one ship was going on a little hard.
Well, the fleet is still away.
Well, some ships were inside. We saw some ships.
There was 2 ships, wasn't there? 2 ships.
Just 2. It was just
Voyager was there, right? Voyager. They mentioned it. And I think there was another ship plus the base itself, but wasn't the ships that were left back, weren't they under repair? I'm just assuming.
Okay, and I think this is I don't know how everyone else felt about this battle at the beginning. It's the one. This all happens before even like the credits, right? Like we haven't even got to the credits of the past cold open, but this battle, I was like, what the heck's going on? Like, they're fighting the Discovery, her ship's outside, but then the Vulcans show up, but then they punch a way through, but something get out, and then it was just like blah, 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 and then it was like, okay, we're out of here.
But you forgot something pretty major. There was Michael Burnham's talk with Vance. She's saying, basically stand down, trust me.
Well, yeah, that was sort of like, as like the battle progressed, but and Michael Burnham's brought up to the bridge after they caught her, and Frostbite, why do you get a load of Syra, whatever. I love Frostbite. And then but the first few minutes where like she's got Michael Burnham and Book hostage after she's killed
the Kobayashi Maru,
right, the no-win scenarios and all these kinds of things. Osira. Okay, and Cronenberg makes his appearance here, standing side by side, but with Vance. And I thought this was interesting. And I have a question for the group here. Maybe I'll give it to Adam. Adam, do you think that Cronenberg could be his character? What's his character's name? I'm sorry, David. The character David Cronenberg's played, the guy with the glasses and the suit and tie. Could he be the Federation president?
He can be the president. Actually, that's a great role for him. Fantastic, love it.
I was actually thinking that too. Yeah.
Because Vance said in negotiations last episode with Osira, he's I'll speak on behalf of the president. We haven't seen the council or anything really outside of Vance. We've said maybe Vance is like he's just running the whole show. He's like it's like the Wizard of Oz, or don't look behind the curtain. But perhaps Cronenberg is Do you think so, James?
reasonable the way where he was standing there on the bridge.
The way he was speaking, feeling, standing
Yeah.
against like Osira too.
Yeah.
And everything else.
But he wasn't just a background science guy.
He wasn't some kind of
why would a counselor or whatever he is be on the bridge of the
Clearly more than we know.
We thought he was,
Absolutely.
right. And some interesting things. Like this whole thing. Who did Osira slap in this one? Oh, she slapped
Slap Michael.
Michael.
She slapped Mike. I remember Osira slap
Pretty hard.
on my page here, and I'm like, whoa. This okay. And Osira, like, we'll get to her eventual demise in this episode, but like, she was pissed. She's like, I'm going to put the screws to everyone as hard as I can in every scene. Margot Kidder's niece, the Lois Lane of the 70s. she's great. I thought she was.
I'm sad to see her go.
I was like, you can't
yeah.
kill her. You gotta like leave her sort of around. But
Well, she was
Yeah.
lying on the ground. Who knows? Did we see blood?
A week
Before
ago,
we Before we get too far ahead, I do want to talk about that moment with Michael Burnham and Stamets when she puts him in a bubble and blasts him away.
Oh, from last episode, right? Where he's like, "We came to the future for you, and how could you, Michael?"
Because that's where they opened this episode, right? Essentially, with the recap. Sorry, I watched both of them. I watched both of them almost back to back. So
yeah. This picks up right when the battle, right after she's launched him out. Yeah. So he comes in. He says, "Sir, whatever, da da da," and he's like, "But we have to get Discovery, and then we have to go back and save Culber and Adir because they're my family." Right? And he's like, "Well, you're the only one who can run the spore drive, and she was right to send you here. And I know it sucks, but see you later." And he's like, "Well,
yeah." I was gonna say, like, it was an interesting line for me from Vance because this season has been all about that, right? The contrast between doing things because you want to versus what's better for the Federation as a whole. That struggle has been persistent, I felt, through the season. And I think, this episode did a good job of showing that Michael has learned, and last episode too, but also that she now fights harder to make sure that personal missions, I guess, and Federation things that are good for the Federation can both work out in the end, right? Instead of one, doing one thing and then the other being to the other's detriment.
Absolutely. Like the whole. If Star Trek is about anything, it's about the needs of the many outnumber the weights of the few. But if anything, it's really more about what is the exception to that? When did the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many? Hence, when do you save your friend even though you have direct orders? When do you go? When you violate the Prime Directive?
Is she kind of a Kirk character? Because I'm thinking like the Kobayashi Maru, the doing things your own way.
Oh, Michael Burnham, you mean?
Yes.
I think they Kirkified Michael Burnham tonight.
Yes.
She was punching, she was kicking, she was throwing things, she was boo boo boo. Even they played this original series theme song. If anything, there that the scene in the turbolift it's kind of going back and forth with her fight with Osira later on in the episode. It very original series feeling. More of the action feel, maybe a little Star Wars-esque without lightsabers or anything like that, just more punch them and shoot them kind of stuff.
Though she is going to have problems with Stamets probably next season.
Comment from Jason here. He says, they made pretty clear this season that there are situations where the needs of the many do not outweigh the needs of the few. There are times, absolutely. And but I think you're trying to always what's my duty?
It's
what's
balance.
The right thing, and how do I do take obsession with Stamets. I am pissed at Paul Stamets, the character. He is too no, don't even, Jaemeel. I cannot. It is that look he gives Michael Burnham at the very end of this episode with the little
it's honesty.
Get out of here. You should leave Starfleet. You're not, because you're the guy who can only run the spore drive or whatever, but
not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh.
Book can kind of do it, or can he just do it? Is he just
his people? Think about it. That means his people can.
Okay, yeah, I guess. Yeah, great.
Okay. Bring them into Federation. Now you have a whole bunch of empaths.
Yeah, well, that's a mission. I think that's something they can pursue. But
it's the Force and the
Jaemeel,
midichlorians.
Why am I wrong about this? Come on.
You're wrong on it because he was emotionally compromised. He was. And Michael made the right play, right?
Yes.
So he has to deal with it on multiple levels. One, the possibility of losing his entire family, right? And Vance spoke to him. I liked how they looped it in, both in that conversation and we later learn about Vance and his family and what happened to them, right? Yeah. And two, Stamets is very practically, he assumes he's right all the time, and he was wrong. And having to live with that and look Michael in the eye is another thing that he's going to have to deal with. So to me, I think that was perfect and something that will obviously be built upon in next season. Don't need to
Mhm.
resolve everything, right? But you can, if you leave one or two little things hanging on that continues on next season, so you have a starting off point for character interaction, it's perfect. I thought they played it the right way. Paul is right to feel that way, but he's wrong overall.
Mhm.
I agree with Jaemeel, and what you have to expect next season, and I hope it happens, is that he just forgets Michael Burnham's call and understands what she was doing. But I think you're right. There will be some friction between the two of them, and I don't really like that time or that storyline personally.
Yeah. I would like to mention that I myself absolutely understood how he felt. Like it truly like tugged at my heartstrings. Like I was like, I get it. I get it. I
get
mean,
you.
it was the wrong call. It was the wrong call, but I get it.
But my issue is not that he's pissed off in the moment, even, right? But more that he's harboring that resentment very outwardly. I think. Michael
But
Connor
he's
says
always
when they
been
shoved
very
him on that
outward.
civilian transport, I thought Stamets was cooked. Yeah, because Vance is like, put him on the civilian transport. And you're like, that doesn't sound good.
Bye bye.
I mean, come on. It was kind of like it's still raw, right? And he's always been pretty open with his emotions as a character.
Jason's with me. He's glad that Stamets is no longer the golden boy. I don't know if he was ever my golden boy in this, but
Wait a second here. Consider how much he's changed since season one, where he was that arrogant, know-it-all. I'm the only one who can do this kind of guy. I think the character development on Stamets has been great. He's come.
Mhm.
He doesn't care about just himself anymore. You definitely. I mean, he was with you back then, but you don't. I don't feel that there was a love or a really relationship between the two of them then. But I think that you've got this evolution of that character where he is now compassionate. He cares for people. He's got a daughter. And yes, he's going to feel this way. And I think it's just, that character particularly has changed a lot over the 3 seasons. And I really, I just hope it's not, confrontational next season.
I'm sure it'll just probably be like maybe half an episode or less. If they continue to write the way they do now, they'll deal with it pretty quick.
They're getting an episode where they're trapped on a planet together.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll work this out. Or I want to see growth from Stamets, because I was talking about a lot about this last week, but it was this whole thing with like, Stamets, you're in Starfleet, and yes, you serve with your husband and now your adopted child in Adira, but you got to understand that you all know the risks. All 3 of you have chosen to live this life, and so you can't put those needs ahead. Obviously, that happens. We've dealt with this in Star Trek before, multiple times, with family members serving together, and it's going back as far as probably like Wesley Crusher and Beverly Crusher, but
Michael, went and did her own thing early in the season, and I think this season did a good job with other characters to explore their own feelings, like Saru, right? When Michael talked to him about his feelings of, and him going on a mission, and now Stamets has to deal with the same thing. So it's not just like a one character thing and everyone else is perfect. So I don't know. I'm okay with that. I think it's a good exploration to have this season.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what makes the show good. Like that's what TNG did. Once we got to know the characters, we start to love them, right?
Absolutely right.
So
sure, okay. I'm saying
all this
Stamets,
stuff.
but I don't want to see it go the other way. I don't want to, because, geez, we spent this whole season like, Michael Burnham, can you just follow orders? Michael, can you just do like the captain kind of stuff, or like the noble thing, right? Like don't go off. Not I was gonna say off book. Not book Cleveland, but like
She goes off book.
She goes on book.
She's on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and who could resist? And but with like, come on, like she wasn't even allowed to be the first officer, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe the first officer. You're just a science officer now. You pissed me off through, that was only like 5 episodes ago, right? And so she so the Stamets plot line is what concerns me in that he's just gonna make her question things more often, and I'm like, no, do it right, Michael. Saru was getting it. You're getting it, and that's my show. Jane,
I'm just I'm fine with it. I could see him leave. I don't know. I'm done with Stamets, but
Well, what are they going to do with them next year? Like, that's the question. Now you've got
Yeah.
Booker on the ship too, so you know.
yeah, what's his job?
You know, one thing that
I mean,
I
he's an engineer.
when you had Book, what'd you say?
He still deals with all the spores and stuff. I mean, it's not like Book. Even if Book can like put his hand in goo, he can't deal with like all the spores in there, which is what Stamets has been doing, right? He takes care of all that stuff. So I would assume that every ship that eventually, I guess, has a spore drive will need a specialist, and he's the one on Discovery.
He's the spore drive
do you
guy.
think that's the direction they're going in, or just dilithium? Like, I thought
Mhm.
they didn't want. I thought it hurt the mycelial network to have them traveling through it a lot. So are they gonna?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I think they're not gonna give everything
Because they are mining
spore drive.
dilithium.
They've
they're
flip
going the
flopped on
dilithium.
this. Because they didn't know, is the spore drive something that the fans are going to accept, and it was kind of like, yes, but the time period you put it in the first season makes it very difficult to resolve a whole bunch of other Star Trek stuff. So you're kind of alienating the fan base, the existing fan base. Maybe you can grow a new fan base, but the existing fan base is sort of alienated, or at least partially. You know, if you care about that kind of stuff, right? Like, why the Voyager could have sure to use a spore drive, and they were 150 years later or whatever. So I think it's a cool effect. I love it. I like that it's this awesome kind of plot line. I love where they've set it in the future now, where it's this special, unique technology that makes their ship so special. That's cool. You know, I almost feel like season 3 should have been the season 1 we should have got from the beginning. You know,
I would assume that they want to have backup systems of some sort. Maybe every ship will be a hybrid from now on, because if their dilithium core or whatever, you know, is compromised, they can use the mycelial network if it truly does damage it, right? If you go too much, then don't use it unless you have to. So now you have two ways to get places.
True. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. They were saying for a while, oh, it hurts it. It's bad for the environment. We're gonna stop doing it. Actually, no, never mind. That we're wrong with that. We just were.
Well, so does warp apparently. Too,
Yeah,
right?
but
Remember that
only.
episode?
But if we make the nacelles go like this, it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's they can write it. They can write it whatever they want, right? So it's all good. Okay, so we're all over that. Okay, so there's this whole chase where Osira gets away. And so they're being chased, and the crew's trying to take back the ship throughout the episode. The other big storyline is Su'Kal and Saru and all them. We're going back and forth, but I just want to talk about Su'Kal and Saru, all of their scenes tonight, the whole Kelpian storyline here. I thought it was really strong. I thought Doug Jones deserves a nomination for this stuff. I think beautiful. And I feel like we've talked about all this other stuff, but we've kind of lost out. And the actor who's playing Su'Kal through all that makeup, you know, what's the word he's like? Oh, we go outside. Oh, dangerous! Or what
I love that. Yeah.
Ready to theater.
It was great.
So good. I was like,
great character.
Oh my god, I laughed at that. I don't think I was supposed to laugh, but I did.
It was so unique the way he said it. It was almost like the episode of Deep Space Nine in the Pale Moonlight where the Romulan Vreenak goes, "It's a thing."
Oh yeah.
it was like in that kind of caliber for me, you know, for line reads. You know, if anything, like this whole storyline tonight with Su'Kal and Saru, did it just feel long? That was maybe my only thing. Was did like trying to convince him to leave the ship outside was okay? Did it take too much, or would it have been too easy if they had sped it up?
Dave, I thought it was too long at the time because I thought we only had an hour.
Right.
And now that it went longer, I was like, okay, this is okay.
I feel like I gotta go back and watch it again because I felt the same. I'm like, come on, guys, like this is good, but like there's a lot of stuff we can take back the ship.
Things we gotta do.
On my end, because I knew it was extra long, it felt right to me.
Yeah.
I noticed, like, as Jaemeel mentioned, I don't normally notice camera work and stuff, but on this, when they're with Saru in the holodeck, I noticed like the camera kept on going upside down, and
yeah, they were flipping things a lot.
At one point, like Saru's like, "Oh, the ship is disintegrated," but disintegrating, but then we were like from this angle where you saw things falling apart. I thought it was really cool how they did it.
Yeah, like Jaemeel, this whole story, the performances, like you said, you were really into it.
It was surprisingly so, because in previous episodes I was kind of like, man, I kind of wish that everything was back in Discovery in the in previous episodes, and to come to this conclusion where I actually care about the outcome. I wasn't like, let's hurry up and rush back so we can see what was happening. I was invested in the character and his journey to leave, which I was like, I know it had to happen, but I didn't know. I could not have foreseen them doing a great enough job that I actually was kind of like, I was stoked that he was coming back to Discovery.
Yeah. Well, I was just hoping it wasn't going to fall apart. Largely, I'm like, don't cause like another burn, or like don't set him off, or like he's like a nuclear bomb. Be careful with him. Like,
So there's a comment from Jason Doan about the resolution of the burn. I will agree. If there's one criticism I'm going to make for this entire season, is the resolution of what the burn is. I'm going to say that now that I have the how it's all resolved, the 3 episodes are resolved, I'm still not satisfied, but I'm not upset. It's an explanation that I'm okay with, but only okay. It's the least exciting part of the season for me.
Is the burn resolved? I don't think we know the cause of the burn, but I don't think the repercussions from what exactly we're being told from this is resolved. And I think that's how Saru coming back is going to be involved.
I don't mean that. I meant the explanation that his genetics while in the womb being modified caused him to have a connection to the dilithium. Then when he screamed at a certain frequency, caused a subspace explosion. Essentially, I found that I don't know. It wasn't what I saw coming, and I don't know if that's the way I like it to have gone.
I kind of liked it, just the grief of the death of a parent. Like, I don't know. I felt like,
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that part. I actually cried there at that part. It's not that. It's that you have a being that developed the ability to explode dilithium.
Like compared to like the mystery of the signals and the Red Angel and everything we got in season 2, this was.
But that's what I mean. I'm okay with it.
But I have to say, like, from a sentiment of like, there was this mystery, the burn. It changed the galaxy, changed the universe forever. All that dilithium, all warp cores exploded simultaneously. It set it back. It set the galaxy back. It kind of put it back into the old West days almost.
Are you think it's just too far fetched? The science of this?
No, the science fiction of it makes complete like science fiction sense.
It makes sense.
Dilithium has a connection to subspace. Through subspace, because he's a genetic mutation connected to all this dilithium, he's able to sort of tap into that subspace thing, or whatever. Like, sure, like it's not completely implausible through science fiction Star Trek logic. So, but is it like, were we hoping it was caused by Q or it was some kind of malevolent thing that they had to stop, this threat that they had to stop? And it was a threat they had to stop. It just turned out not to be a malevolent one. It ended up being sort of like this innocent thing. That it also ties into this Saru, knowing that Doug Jones was going to have this journey as the captain of this season. He's the captain throughout this whole season. Then he leaves only to pass this torch to Michael Burnham tonight. I think in retrospect, I'm going to look at this whole storyline probably fondly, but it's going to depend sort of where the show goes from here. I think they still have work to do in this new post-burn universe. But
it's exciting, though.
It's exciting. I imagine there's some aliens upset with Sukal. there are people, that
Well,
what
yeah,
happened with
And
the bird.
he himself, he already understands the weight, right? I think for me, what made me okay with it was just the emotional weight and the way they wrote. It's such an emotional thing, right? That I'm okay with it from I guess a character development and a relationship standpoint. This was just not what I would have expected. And I'm not obviously, there's amazing surprises and they're just surprises where I'm just like, yeah, okay, sure. And this is okay, sure.
Bill Irwin plays Sukal and great character actor, as mentioned by Michael Connor here, from the series Legion. And Jason saying here, I would not be surprised to see the secret of a Kelpian causing the burn to occur, and some race or faction will go after Kaminar. I think that's kind of to be expected, almost, right? Like, obviously, it's not his fault, but there are especially maybe some Romulans who we saw, because Navarre and Vulcans and the Romulans, they sort of took the brunt of the blame for this. They were believed to somehow be behind it for a long time. And I mentioned that there's got to be some people there that are harboring resentment.
What about species we haven't seen? Like, I don't know, Klingons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, yeah.
In this century,
this whole season we were Klingon free this season.
I was surprised. I was like, hey, ain't no Klingons. They better be coming in next season.
I think so. With the return of dilithium coming back, and seemingly the Federation up on its feet, where it's interconnecting with past allies and new allies, like the reaching out to the Empire has to happen.
Yeah.
Which Empire?
The Klingon.
The Klingon Empire.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we don't even know if it still exists. As far as for all we know, Kronos joined the Federation.
Well,
yeah.
I think Tyler survived in cryogenic
No,
chamber.
we're not bringing back Tyler. No.
Now you have a
No,
love
a whole
triangle.
new start here. Don't try to bring back these old demons.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
I know. I could see you doing it. You're like, I'm gonna bring a Tyler storyline, or let's get back Lorca or Georgiou in here. Like, some of these like stories that didn't like. Let's just leave them in the seasons they lived in.
You know what? I am after a season like this, I feel bad. I feel bad that despite whatever people say, where I feel that we had an up and down season 1, of less than stellar season 2. This was always in the show. What we saw, right? What they were able to do was always in the DNA of this show. And it took 3 seasons, right, for them to get here. And I just wish that this was from the get-go. I like right out the gates, it was this strong. I really wish it was. But can't complain about the journey it took to get here. But I just imagine we would be 3 seasons into a quality presentation of what we're seeing right here.
Well,
But
now
that's
we're
top
one
to
season
bottom.
through,
That's
and
par for the course for Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
TNG, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, the first 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Like, you got a great point. Like
Voyager
first 3 seasons of
before 7
Voyager,
comes
there's some good
on.
episodes, but they're mostly not good. Or they're mostly like they're mediocre. They're mediocre to good, maybe. And I think the show, when 7 of 9 joins Voyager, the show gets a lot better, right? There's kind of 2 eras of Voyager. It never gets that great, but it's Voyager, and so it's the Next Gen. I think the first season of Next Gen is mostly bad. In retrospect, at least Adam. I think he's coming back.
Well, I'm excited for the next season. That's for sure. After this, the writing is tight.
Already in production. It's been already in production. They have been working on it for months on end, right? I'm not surprised if there's a quick turnaround time for season 4, and I'm stoked. I thought couple months back, I'm like, oh yeah, well, Discovery's coming back. But I loved Lower Decks so much. I kind of wish I got more Lower Decks. Can I get more Discovery, please?
Yeah, I can. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I'm sitting here. Oh man, we need more Discovery, guys. We need another 10 episodes, or we need our season 4 as soon as possible. Again, I was not feeling like this at the end of season 2.
Like I want to rewatch this season already. Like I haven't gone back to Picard at all. But I want to rewatch this one. Yeah.
This was
It's-
a lot of fun.
says something.
Yeah, and so we kind of talked about the Sukal and the Saru storyline, and all, Indira and Culber there too, and all that. The only other thing I guess is maybe like the last moments, or maybe that hollow recording, because I don't want to keep jumping back and forth too much here. I kind of want to stay on this story and kind of talk it through, like all the flashbacks with him as a child and the mother and sort of everything there. I thought that was really good. I was like,
Oh God, yeah.
like. There's nothing like anyone can write that kind of scene, and I just feel like they brought it to life so well. Like it's just
You could see the pain in the mother's face as she's telling Sukal,
Yep.
you could see him you feel for that poor child, and then you're as an adult, he's watching himself talk to his mother who's dead on the floor. Her uniform is anyway. And my God, like it was a powerful scene. And you could almost see that kind of emotion bursting out of him and causing this burn. And I wasn't unsatisfied. Sorry, I dropped you guys, but I wasn't unsatisfied with that ending just because of the way that was played. It was great. I felt great about it.
yeah, Jane.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I liked the ending. I liked the cause of the burn, where it went. Like I initially thought, oh, it's some nefarious, like is it the Borg or whoever? But I like this. I thought it was powerful, simple too, in a way. Like I don't know. No.
Yeah.
And for me, honestly, guys, I could be done with the burn now, and let's do something else next season because,
Yeah. Now that we have the explanation,
We have the explanation.
Yeah.
I think there will be stories that will tie into this. Like it just there's this post-burn universe, and they got the Federation, you got the Emerald Chain. We presumably have other players that are going to get involved.
I'm guaranteeing 1 to 2 episodes though, where somebody is going to go after him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think
It has to happen.
they got to bring Saru back into the fold, and anything that deals with Sukal, I think, is going to deal with Saru from moving on here.
Yeah, as Jaemeel says, once people find out, some people are going to be pissed. Like, oh, there's someone we can kill? Awesome, let's do it.
Somebody's to blame, somebody's to blame.
But if, let's say, you're part of the Emerald Chain and you feel that you want to bring the Federation and the planets to the knees, well, you have a weapon there that you can, finagle your way to deploy.
Because he's super powered, man.
Now, I took it that he only has that power within that system.
No, I don't think
That's
so.
not. I thought that's what Culber said. When you leave, you're not a danger anymore.
He's not in danger because the amount of dilithium close to him is not large enough to actually cause a burn. But I would assume that he still has a subspace connection to dilithium in general. So hypothetically, he could gambit like X-Men gambit dilithium.
I'm following you. I know what Jane does. Maybe
Kind of like amplify it with something.
he can like charge things right with his powers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because maybe like they can do a lot of things with his mutation and what that means and what he can do. I think that it depends on how much they want to bring back the Sukal character moving forward. But
You can like literally make an entire X-Men out of people in this universe. Yeah. You have a Kelpian with those spikes flying out of their heads.
Yeah.
You have, and then like the dilithium controlling exploding dude. You have Book with the empath.
he's the empath. He can
Control.
Right.
There you go. X-Men.
Superpowers. They do have a bunch of superpowers in there.
I
I want to get to the other storyline too, which was the to take back the ship from Osira versus Burnham. Osira and Mr. A scientist dude, Aurelio. They had some conflicts tonight. They were not getting along so well. it's about to get so much worse. And there he ends up staying on the ship afterwards, by the way, Aurelio, and he, because when she says beam all the regulators off, it didn't include him. So that was cool, because so they found a way to get him into the show. They're like, we're bringing you into the show, we're making you this new character.
We talked about last week, we've got too many characters and somebody would be killed off, and now we've got another one.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, well, Saru left, so you can come in, you know?
Yeah.
And she's
and we've got Gray, and we've got a real Gray now too. So we
have a new, we have a real Gray who can interact with people. We'll see if that means more screen time for Gray or not. But with the whole who was I talking about here? I'm sorry, I lost my thought.
The Aurelio.
Aurelio, Osira in the plot and Book. They were torturing Book, right? Yeah. In the machine, it was like, you know, he was screaming. He was gonna die of agony, and you're like, oh, we're gonna get you, Osira. Oh, are we ever going to get you? But before that, there was a whole talk where Aurelio tries to stop her, and he's like, you know, first she tries the normal thing where if I just say it, or like he'll accept that I have to do some bad things or unpleasant things. But here he's like, no, I'm going to stand up to you. Inspired seemingly by the speech that Stamets gave to him the last episode. And she's like, yeah, well, the human heart's not very complicated compared to the Ryan heart, which is 6 valves and all things. More canon establishing, so I like that. But anyway, she says, you'll be next time, you won't wake up or whatever, and she kind of knocks him out. You're like, okay, I guess that's the end of that with those two. Do we like that character enough? Like, or is it just they love that actor, so they're gonna find a way to bring him into this show? And Aurelio, the future of Aurelio, because
I think they needed someone with future science, or at least Emerald Chain science, at least for now, to be in the cast so that they can advance the technology for next season. Is what I'm assuming he's here for.
All right, that's why Ren had to die. Ren could have been that guy.
Oh, Ren, yeah, I've forgot about it. Yeah.
Our Andorian guy who got blown away by Syra last week.
Yeah.
Justice for Rin.
I wasn't very attached to him as much. Yeah.
No.
They're
like, who cares about Rin? We got Aurelio.
Yeah.
Aurelio. And everything else. And then, so finally, Michael Burnham's like, fine, I will convince him. But she pulls a fast one, and she gets it, and she puts up the force field, and she gets to the thing, and she shoots the guys, and then she gets out. It's like, yes.
Change the grip.
A lot of really good action from a lot of people, like the whole bridge crew making their way through the ships, and then the robots joining them and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then we got a question here from Jason. He's saying, "What, other than saving the Discovery R2, what could happen with that sphere data?" So we saw, okay, at the end of last week, those sphere data were turned into those droid things, or the droids were already there. They were repair droids on the ship, and the sphere data is more like of a sentient conscience of sorts, and now inhabits. I thought it was just the 3. I thought we were gonna get the Huey, Dewey, Louie I said last week. No, I guess it's multiple droids, but they're all individuals, right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
I'd like to understand that a little bit more, like exactly how the sphere data is working with those droids and how many there are and how many individuals are sort of in the ship. But I'm sure they'll get to that next season. And so Michael Burnham, we get the B team, as I call them, the Tilly and Joanna, and we got and Asano, Joanna, and then there's Robot Eye.
Robot Eye. Yeah.
I'm forgetting all the names. Detmer, and all of them, right? Reese and all them, right? So they're suffocating down in engineering, I think, and it's not going so well, and they need to get out. And she's like, "Well, we can die here. We can die saving Osira." Tilly says this.
It's another instance of, one or the group. What's the saying?
The needs of the needs of the one, or the needs of the many.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And I was like, well, what do you think, God? Like, what do you think, Tilly? Like, yeah, of course we're all gonna go try to stop the bad guy who took over our ship and is, really ruined our day here in general. But it was fine.
All worked out.
All worked out, and they're suffocating because they get trapped down there. Sidor wants to let them die slowly, because that was the other thing Michael Burnham's trying to like try to get them air again. Joanna Oshekwan, I can never say her name. I'm sorry, but her she can hold her breath for a long time. She establishes this in the episode. She's like, I'm guessing she's a swimmer or a diver or something like that. And so the rest of them are dying, but she's got such trained, strong lung capacity. She can deal with the low, thinner air. And I thought, like, when they kind of like later sent her on that mission, because their mission is to like dislodge the nacelle, because Michael Burnham says some kind of little code over the intercom to Tilly that only she'll understand, and to get the nacelle off, drop them out of warp, so their friends and Starfleet and Navarre can catch up and stop the Emerald Chain. That's sort of the whole concept of it all. And I was like, great, she's gonna die. She's totally gonna die. That's what she gets for being good at something. In this case, holding her breath. But nope, she made it. And even the robot who sacrificed himself or herself to save Joanna also lived. Was also brought back. So everyone lives.
Yay!
Yay!
Jet Reno had a 30-second spot on the show, so
Yeah, she's like, I can fix the robot. Yay!
yes.
But she's coming back for next season.
I think
it was reported.
I could see, like, they put her on that bridge in that final scene to say, okay, she's part of the crew, and like, we would say there's not enough people, there's too many people, but I think they're gonna be able to work on that.
I had an issue with that. I had an issue with that last scene.
Okay. Well, let's talk. I know we're jumping ahead, but with the last scene on the bridge, what's your issue, Tissue?
Why is what's his name on Amadeus, not Amadeus, Antonio? No, the gentleman in the box, the scientist.
Oh yeah,
Aurelio.
Why, Aurelio? Why is he on that bridge? Right?
Because the producers are in love with this actor who plays Aurelio. He's been around since season 1. He's played a character every season. Kenneth Mitchell's his name. He's a Canadian actor. He played Call in the first season. He later played like that time crystal Klingon guy that was like the son of Vok. Remember the one that chose Pike his future? And then they brought him back. So I feel like
Jeffrey Combs.
He's the new Jeffrey Combs. He's the Lon Chaney of Star Trek. He's gonna just they're gonna get him to play something different every season, maybe, or whatever.
If I were to take a stab at the logic outside of loving an actor, I would say that because there was the crew that was on the bridge was the crew that was on the ship during the whole takeover of the ship, and because they sent everyone back to Starfleet, correct, on shuttles, and only had a certain group of people that the Emerald Chain only had a certain group of the crew left. So all of these people plus Book, right? Because he's not really part of the crew, but he was also on the bridge. And then the scientists, they were all involved in how things played out and succeeded in the crew's favor. So all of the people who were involved are now there to welcome Michael Burnham to the bridge as the new captain. That's how I would logic this out. That they were all important in getting to this point.
Yeah, they're all part of the crew now too, right?
I'm not saying they're not part of the crew. I'm just saying if you want to say who was in that final shot and why, not from a producer standpoint, as in liking actors, as in why would they be there?
Yeah. But we're saying that Aurelio is a part of the crew now, and also
he is part of the crew. But I'm saying he's also involved in the dismantling of the Emerald Chain's plans.
But I think what Jameel's saying is like, who's this guy? We just met him like a minute ago, and now he's on the show, like seemingly as a recurring character
on the bridge. I think he has right, Jaemeel, on the bridge.
He was on the bridge.
Insolent child on my bridge, Wesley Crusher. Get off here.
If he was like in the mess or right, or there was some other sequence, I would have been perfectly fine, right? Maybe in engineering or by the spore drive, and you have Tig and Jet, you have Stamets and him kind of having a conversation with Adira, right? We have a sequence where we're like, okay, engineering, the spore drive is becoming more of a hot spot, right? Plot wise and conversational wise, but to see the crew on the on the bridge and he's there side by side, oh, I had an issue with that. That kind of irked me a little bit. I love this episode, but it irked me.
Yeah, I think it will depend on what the future of Aurelio is. I think is sort of how we'll have to figure out if him being there is going to feel weird in time or not. I think it's potential for now, but maybe if they had set him up a little bit earlier in the season, I think that would have been better. Right? Even they worked him into maybe one of the earlier appearances of Osira, I think that would have been good. But maybe they didn't think of it till later. So it's.
I do appreciate he's the. Diversity wise, he's the disabled diversity character, because they have so many different ones now, right?
Yes, you gotta have, basically they're going for like representation,
everything,
right? You know,
good representation.
That's what Star Trek always has been, right? From it's cooking right from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it's diversity of people, backgrounds, abilities, ways of thinking. All those things are going to lead to a team that can kind of do anything. And and a great result, and that's really what all I ever want to see, or not all I want to see, but it's the big theme I want to see Star Trek and Starfleet in particular to stick to, and I think that's why shows like maybe Picard, struggled a little because it wasn't a Starfleet show; it was kind of a very different kind of a story. So, and that's okay. I think it's okay to try out new things because Star Trek has this vast world that they can do different things in and different types
it got us to this point, which I'm happy about. So all the disappointments, let's just say, I'm feeling pretty good. Right, so I could take a little bit of sour candy with my sweet.
So the final turbolift sequence we talked quite a bit about, but but there's also the fight between Osira and Michael herself, and fun. Everyone liked it. Like action movie.
Action.
That was an action movie worthy sequence. Whenever you have a fight sequence where you're seeing that happening, you're looking for a couple of things. You're looking for continuity in terms of like. Characters are where they're supposed to be, right? During the fight sequence, everything seems very fluid, like a proper continuation of each sequence of the fight, right? You have they cover a lot of ground in this fight sequence. This is not like a very closed area. They cover a lot of ground, and it's the wrestling fan in me, like. Really like switches on when I'm watching it, like Michael dealing with her leg being injured and incorporating that in the fight sequence, how she's attacked, and they pinpoint that to make sure that an advantage occurs, right? The burst of energy to cross the room to get to Osira, but at the same time, still that hobble is there the entire sequence. This was a masterclass in terms of choreography and also in performance.
Yeah, like I have to say, this is one of the like a strong woman protagonist, strong woman antagonist going at it in an action sequence, and maybe one of the best things I've ever seen with that scenario in terms of TV or movie. I can't think of maybe another. I haven't seen the new Wonder Woman movie. I haven't seen the fight with Cheetah and Wonder Woman. But I don't. Was it better than this? No,
it wasn't. It was better.
You could see everything.
Yeah, so it's. I thought this. The only thing I can't get over in this fight between the two of them is, okay, it's in the computer core, and at one point, so basically, Osira tries to finish off Michael by pushing her into like this. I don't know what it was, like nanites, or it was like little robot. What was going on?
Like morphing metal.
It was like morphing metal or liquid metal.
I think it's the core of their morph technology.
Yeah, I think it's the computer system has like this type of organic cell structure, so she was being pushed into it, and therefore it kind of
like a
absorbed.
fluid. I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And I didn't know what was how she was going to come out of it, or like she was going to be.
The best is when you hear the noise and Sarah takes a look over her shoulder. No, it's not good. Happens again. Michael shoots her, bang, bang, and then she comes out, spits out part of the whatever they were. It was great. Love that scene.
Yeah, like okay, was her, like, I think it's satisfying in that she comes out and she gets her sort of through the door, but there's sort of not like this final emotional moment like where she like Michael gets her victory, but Osiris dead. I guess is sort of what I'm saying here is that
Issue number two.
Yeah, you agree that it was a little not they could have done it a little better.
How great if she was like a prisoner, right? How great it would have been where like you have an issue. There is a whole world that the Emerald Chain has had their hooks into, right? A lot of things that Starfleet does not understand, but the Emerald Chain does, right? And as she awaits her trial, right? Just imagine that scene where once again Michael and Syra have to match wits, right? Syra's in her cell with the force field, and Michael has to come to her and ask her for help, right? I think that we just got rid of an awesome antagonist that
Hold on.
we'll give you a second to clear things up.
We're having a rave.
You set red alert. Did you guys check your warp core? Is it where it's supposed to be?
Dump it.
Ooh, they're talking amongst themselves.
Can't hear you, Dave.
I think that's the point.
Sorry, guys. I accidentally so I have like a routine that sets, and then it went off, and then I tried to correct it, but I accidentally activated the red alert, which turns every light in our house red. So then Jane was just like, "Oh, Dave, you did it now." And so
I've remedied that. I have an evening mode that gets all the red out. But
it's all the red alert out.
See, once again, Jane, like Michael Burnham, steps in, resets the system, right?
Yeah, she's cleaning up after me with these messes. So it's
So just to wrap up what I was saying, because it was kind of long-winded, right? We lost out on the opportunity for like an antagonist that Michael can come back to. I'm not saying repeatedly, but like when it sweeps times and you need that storyline that like Michael is exhausted all of her resources and she needs to come and ask for information. I think all the work that was done this season, I think there was still meat on the bone.
You know what? You might be right there, because we saw part of that character last week where she was sitting at the table with Vance. That was very interesting. You know, the negotiator, the one that wanted peace or something. And I would have liked to have known that part of her a little more than we saw, unfortunately, with just that 45 minutes of that show.
And are we 100% sure she's dead? Because I just saw her lying on the floor.
I was gonna say
she got shot and she was on the floor, but all we saw was her backside lying on the ground. Like,
it's true.
I don't know. Maybe there's
all the other guys she shot were probably dead too, right? Like, how many people does Michael Burnham put down in this episode? Because clearly she was not on stun, she was on kill. So at least 10, I think, soldiers she took down tonight.
You know what? Until we actually see like a body count, let's assume that they're still alive. I want to know why was there a push for peace? Like, why was there a push for peace? And there has to be opposing forces against that piece. And now that Osira is not in charge anymore, where does that leave the Emerald Chain? Like,
Well,
there's a lot.
There's got to be other Emerald Chain leaders that we haven't met yet, and
Yeah.
I really liked Osira. I thought she was a great character. I would have liked.
Yeah, I think like they could have put her in prison. I feel like that would have been maybe the better way. Like take her down, but maybe not kill her. Like, but they
But
I
in
don't
the
know.
moment, the stakes were really high, man.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And Mike says Rin got a better death than Osira, and I kind of agree. Like, it's more memorable than Osira. Well, like, sort of. Like, it's cool the way Michael comes out of it, and the way it happened in the moment was exciting. That's all true. It's more just that like Osira as a character almost deserves better. That's all.
That's true.
Yep.
Testament to the performance. And
Plus, Tilly never got her sass back. She never got to sass her back last time.
No, to get her sass back. And Tilly didn't really get sort of any kind of like, not redemption, but she didn't get any resolution with her conflict with Osira. That they never had a resolution to that. And we'll see how Tilly deals with that and everything that happened.
Maybe Osira will come back as a head on a robotic body.
Maybe, perhaps they can do. Yeah, she's got a complicated heart, so they can do it.
Yeah,
They
still pumping all the blood while she's on the ground.
And we also lost Frostbite himself, whatever his name was, that mercenary guy we met in episode 2 that was working for Osira from Dawn of the Dead, season 4. Mike Zara, British actor, and he was fighting Book in the turbolift, and he said, "I'm going to get you and your little cat too, your fat cat." Well, Book was having none of that.
Yeah.
She's a queen.
She's a queen. You don't talk about my cat.
That is your gift that you're going to see for 2011 everywhere.
Yeah, no. Well, I think that the gift tonight was also going to be Michael Berta when she says, "Okay, computer, like reboot the system." Right? She reboots the system and she says, "Okay, beam everybody off. Okay, get them off the thing. Set up the shields, whatever she's saying." I'm like, "Okay, now we got to keep this going. Order me a pizza. Get me this thing."
Did it kind of feel like Star Trek 2009 with the Kobayashi Maru, where like Kirk kind of like cheats the system and just like rattles off like 20 different commands at the same time? It just seems like instantaneous, one after the other. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. All right, everyone.
That's all planned out. I memorized it. I know exactly what I wanted to ask you. I was thinking about it for a while.
I thought it was funny that she didn't get life support back on first.
What was her engage when she was finally at the end?
Let's fly.
Let's fly.
And there she is in her uniform.
I think it needs work.
Yeah.
No, I love this uniform.
No, the fly.
The fly saying.
Let's fly. I thought she was good. Like, okay, I was a little surprised she didn't do just Black Alert because that's kind of what they do. But it was she, instead of engage or whatever.
They didn't
punch
jump.
it.
They didn't jump. They went away to warp.
They went standard warp, which is fine. Like the ship can also do that, but I don't know where they were going in standard warp. They can literally go anywhere they want. They have a sport drive, but it's fine. But I think just a ship going to warp, we see it. That's what we want to see, right? Like from next gen on, even going back to our motion picture, really, that's been sort of like the effect or versions of that effect in Star Trek. Original series, it's more like it's not quite that, but I thought it was like Let's Fly. I just don't think it's memorable enough. I feel like you need something a little bit more catchy, but we're committed now. They probably tested like a number of different things.
I'm sure they
We
did.
just have a blooper sequence. Just a blooper sequence of just different things. Both her and Saru.
Does anyone remember what Saru settled on? Because remember he
settled on.
I didn't like that.
Then or something. He said.
No,
I thought it was execute. No.
Yes. Execute.
Yeah.
Now execute. And she's like, "Let's fly."
Let's fly.
The problem is that we've got the engage. How are we going to?
Punch It was also good. I like Punch It.
Punch It was good.
Pike in the new movie, right?
I would like
Yeah,
to point
Pike
out
and-
David Cronenberg made The Fly, so
Yeah.
He was like, "Let's fly, let's the fly with Jeff Goldblum."
exactly.
Keep it David.
So-
We weren't picking
So,
that up.
so hint, Cronenberg.
Yeah.
So Pike, Discovery Pike, he says hit it,
Hit it.
right?
Yeah.
Hit it.
Yeah.
And then Riker goes, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a...
It was punching. It was like the Bruce Greenwood Pike in the 2009 Star Trek.
Punch it was Greenwood, hit it was Pike
Hit it was
from
Pike.
Discovery.
Hit it. He had already taken it. It was taken.
Mhm.
So she needed something else, and she couldn't say execute or. And I guess what's wrong with engage? Like, why is that? Oh, that's not just Picard's word. Janeway also says engage. And I think Cisco would say engage, and I was like, it's not just Picard's word. And what was her name? The Carol Freeman on our deck. She's like, what if mine's like, let's go warp time or whatever she wanted it to be. She has a similar debate where she's like trying to figure out what she should say when she wants to go to warp.
Go warp time.
Go warp time or go ship time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they retake the ship, everything else. And then we don't. Okay, the only thing we didn't quite understand, Jane and I, was she has this plan because once they retake the ship and they get up there and Tilly passes the torch, which I think maybe I wasn't completely
That was
expecting.
pretty quick.
It was quick, like because I guess Michael is the one who saves the day here, and so I guess Tilly is sort of bowing down and saying, yeah, you screwed up in the past, but I think you've learned your lesson, and I think you're the one to lead us to get us out of this situation. And I think she's right, and I think that Michael Burnham's earned it from disgraced traitor and criminal Michael Burnham to captain of the ship. But she says, okay, we got to eject the warp core, and then we're going to jump and they drop it on us here. The book with his abilities can probably jump. I don't know. This was, I was like, I guess, okay, sure. And we'll try this out. But yeah, like, why did they have to eject the warp core? Why is blowing up the Viridian, the ship they're trapped inside? This is Osiris' ship. Even after she's dead, they're still trying to get them, right? So why was that important? They're not the Borg. You don't have to blow up this Viridian ship, or do you? Like, is it because they were?
Here's the thing, though. They jumped out of it. So could they just jump out? I wonder.
Yes, they could have jumped out without ejecting that warp core.
With taking the risk of sitting there and not knowing if the jump would work. And is that just for drama? Like, I don't know.
I'll have to watch it again to understand if there was some reason we had to drop this warp core and blow up the Osiris ship, the Viridian. But
that's how you win.
I guess,
I guess they wanted to take care of that ship. Get it.
Yeah, they have to blow up the Kraken ship.
Okay, well they got the boom. Okay, and they're done. And so, but we don't know. Did they make it out? We didn't see it, and we don't know if Saru back to Saru and Sukal and Nadira and Culber, and they're the last minute they come in and Saru come in and happy day, right?
Jason Stone is saying they took out the capital ship, so maybe this was their big bad one ship, like
right. Well, so what does it now mean? Because Osira does send the message to the Emerald Chain that they had rejected the deal, so we will see the Emerald Chain again, and especially with this destruction of this ship, you can't say that the Federation hasn't been at least like that the Emerald Chain doesn't have a reason to be upset after all of this, right? They don't. They might try to explain, well, we told Osira yes, but you basically have to go on trial or you have to face your crimes. And that was, she said no, and then she tried to steal our ship anyway. And so
but now they have the scientists, so he could probably speak to them.
Like, will the Emerald Chain be an ongoing antagonist in Discovery, like the Romulans in the original series?
But maybe if the Federation gets everyone in on it again and they all have great ships, not a big deal. Like, how big is this Emerald Chain?
They're as big as the Federation. Like, they're a rival empire.
Yes, but once the Federation goes to all the planets and gets everyone back in the game,
right? Well, we saw the Trill lady who we met in Adira's kind of focus episode. She was back. Navarre. Oh, and by the way, what was this? Is this the Navarre thing? So it's live long, and then she was like this, and then she went like this. The president of Navarre, who we met in Unification 3. So maybe this is the new Star Trek story. It's not just this. Then touch your heart, right? So maybe that was when the Romulans came. It's like that's live long and prosper, Joel and True. The Romulan saying. Okay, it's getting late. And so it's midnight. So we're gonna probably need to wrap up. But we talked about the final sequence. We did get this quote on the screen to stop the episode from Gene Roddenberry. This is what they chose to put on. In a very real sense, we are all aliens on a strange planet. We spend most of our lives reaching out and trying to communicate. If during our whole lifetime we could reach out and really communicate with just two people, we are indeed very fortunate. I agree completely. I was kind of tearing up as I was reading it, and I was like, "Why? Why did they choose to put this on screen tonight? Why? That's unusual, but not
not unusual in comparison to what happened the previous day."
Yeah, well, this idea of connection and friendships and relationships, and Star Trek is really about that too. It's a huge part of it's just the connections with characters, as it is in many stories and worlds and universes. But it's just the episode we watched last night, Adam, original series, where he was talking about Starfleet making Kirk and Spock brothers, right? And figuratively speaking, that
was a nice wrap up. I think that Michael, Jane, you both said it earlier, and Jaemeel, everybody said it was the connection to Star Trek, and it was a nice wrap up. It was just a great way to. This was Gene Roddenberry's vision. This was here we are, how many years? 50 years later, and it still matters. The real vision of the show still matters, and I think it was great homage, and like a great way to wrap the show up.
Yeah, and it's perfect for the time we're living in right now with this pandemic, right? I mean, look at all of us. We're on.
And look at that.
Here, online.
We made connections with each other. Like I did not know Michael or Adam before the pandemic.
Nope.
So technically, we've never even shared the same room, either of us.
Air.
But it's been this podcast the whole last year, and I don't know, it's been amazing being so separated but still having connections in this world in Star Trek, and this whole season has been sort of a journey in itself, because I was like, I was so down after season 2. I really struggled with a lot of it. And I felt like, what's the future of Star Trek looking like? Most of 2020, I was pessimistic about this season. I feeling like, Picard wasn't great. I didn't love season 1 of Picard. It had a lot of issues, and I felt like they were not doing so well. Then Lower Decks came along, and I really had this whole new shot in the arm around what Star Trek could become. And Discovery has only enhanced that this year. I think this what they did, and like, hey, those uniforms, like, how can I not be excited? Like, come on. Like, with the colors, they're back in the traditional color scheme. We got the blue color, they got the yellow, got the red, the medical division's in white. I think that's interesting. Like, it's fun. I think they're extending the universe. They're building upon what's come before and telling new stories, which is what I want. That's all I want. That's all I ever wanted.
We talked about it early in the season. We want to be excited every week. We want to be looking forward to Thursday nights, and it totally did that for me, and I know Michael too. You get excited about it, and it's been a long time.
Yeah. It's been a long road.
I knew you were going to do that.
Well, it's late, So I do want to wrap up. I know we all want to get to bed. We all got to get and everything tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Let's get to ratings. I almost forgot. And kind of like really finish out this season. I'm curious to see what Michael will do with his rating. Let's take this down. Okay. All right. Jaemeel, do you want to start us off?
This episode, I give a 9.6.
Okay.
I already indicated what my issues were.
No, I think it's fair. Yeah. Adam.
10.
Knew it was coming.
Hey. Mike, if you're out there, feel free to chime in the comments. Michael.
Last week's episode.
Oh, you have a rating for last week's episode as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
9.
Okay.
And this week's episode,
9.
9.9.
9.9.
9.9.
Yeah. Way to go.
And Jane?
9.4.
9.4. 9.9.
Yeah.
And I might change that. Like the only episode I gave a full 10 was Scavengers. And this has got to be better. Okay, 10. Okay, so
Just go all in.
going all in. So why take the point off? It was a great, fantastic episode, a great season, especially in comparison to what my personal bias and what they've done. Oh, 9.9 for Mike as well, Mike O'Connor, who joined us on last week's episode. So that is an average of 9.8 overall. And for the tonight's episode, the season average 9.1. I gotta give an average to him. So you can see there. Okay, so the highest rated. Well, Mike with his 2 ratings is the highest rated, 9.6. But overall, in terms of Adam, you were at 9.2, tied with me in terms of like overall ratings of the season. Michael at 9.1, he brought up his average just enough with this final 9.9 rating. Jane, you were at the lowest, but still really strong. It's all
strong.
We're all in the same ballpark here. So I think those are big numbers. Those are much stronger than even Lower Decks, which I was a big fan of this past year. But there was a couple episodes where I was like, I don't know, like 7 or whatever. It was fine, but it didn't necessarily, which is any Star Trek season, especially some of those Deep Space Nine episodes we've watched in the first 2 seasons, like, so it's not all like for a season to have like that 13 great episodes, well above like 8.5, all of them. All of them are 9s. Great job. Do not, keep the momentum, Discovery, and keep this going. And you've reinvented your show in a really smart way. I think it makes total sense now is Michael Burnham's time to be the captain. I think there was a different captain in the first 3 seasons, and there's this whole new life to the show. It's almost like this whole season was a new pilot in itself. It's almost like a 13-hour pilot for what the show is now going to become. In some ways. Okay. Anything else?
No.
I'm good.
Sign off, Peter, so we can go to bed. Okay. I just want to plug. We're coming back to Star Trek Radio Theater in a couple of weeks. We're going on January 16th. Michael, you're going to be there. You're going to be playing Commander Jonathan Archer in A Mirror Darkly when we do the Mirror Universe. For season 2 of Star Trek Radio Theater. Check that out Saturday, January 16th. We got a great cast. Jaemeel, myself, Gene, my brother Jeff. We got Kevin Millar. We got a bunch of people. It's going to be amazing. And check that out. We have a lot of fun just reenacting those scripts and talking about those, redoing those episodes and kind of having a fun. It gives you such a stronger connection to each of these episodes. Each time we watch like an episode we've seen before, we're like, I remember doing those lines. I remember acting that scene. It's a whole different experience. It's really something. And we do Deep Space Nine on Tuesdays, and we do Wednesday's original series, and Thursdays we're gonna have off for a while. So hey, and until at least the next Star Trek show comes along, and we do Super Mater Brothers podcasting and Trivia Debates our other channels. Okay, so thank you, Jane, Adam, Michael, Jaemeel, Mike, Jason, and everyone out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been a great experience. I'm so glad we did this, and we'll all be back hopefully season 4.
Yes, sir.
Already been renewed. We know what's gonna happen. Okay, so have a great night, everybody. Thanks for staying up so late to do this, and